I'm estranged from my father simply because he married the mother of the girl who was bullying me when we were 8 years old. He was my only parent and hugely let me down, and I'll never forgive him for subjecting me to being family with someone who mistreated me like that. Even though it did eventually get better, I will never claim her as my family, and I made sure I cut all legal ties. I had 2 family members adopt me when I turned 18. My father never understood my anger at him or why I refused to try at least to make a family with them. He's close with his boss, and I was in town visiting some family, and he saw me. He recognized me from a few years ago and mentioned how he hoped I could attend the next family day at their job. I said that would not be possible, as I have no contact with my father. He was stunned. He asked what happened and mentioned my sister. I told him she wasn't my sister, and she was my bully before Dad married her mom, and that he married this woman knowing her child was bullying me. I told him that made our relationship unsustainable. He apologized and said he had no idea. Apparently, he later confronted my father outside of work and was like, "How could you never say anything, and what kind of father are you?" Word is now spreading around people my father knows and works with. He tore into my family members who adopted me, who are his family members. Then he emailed my very old email account saying I had no right to spill such personal business to his boss, and it was petty and childish, and showed I had no decorum. Am I the idiot? Edit. I had to go 2 years living with the girl who bullied me. They did eventually put a stop to it when I was 10. But from 8 to 10, I had to live with and go to school and be in the same class as the girl who bullied me since kindergarten. My dad even expected me to be her sister. He said this while she was still actively bullying me. He was not a good father to me. To her, sure, not to me. Some of the worst things were her calling me names, cutting my hair, and using my period to humiliate me in school. Not the idiot. You were asked a question, and you answered honestly. If your father's so ashamed for people to know the truth, he needs to reflect upon that and his choices. Your father was an idiot. You're not obligated to hide that from the world. Sorry, but you are the idiot. You're an adult, and you're holding on to a grudge against an 8-year-old child so strongly that you felt entitled to bring your dad's boss into a decade-plus-old drama in response to a polite comment. There's absolutely no reason to do that unless you wanted there to be negative social repercussions for your father. There were so many ways you could have handled this situation honestly without it being so incredibly awkward. We aren't close. We don't keep in touch, etc. This is clearly something that's still actively bothering you, to the point that you're still lashing out when you're reminded of it. You'll need to seek therapy and work on this. You're letting the actions of a kid poison your adult life. Regardless of what anyone else did or didn't do, at this point, you're the idiot for not doing better for yourself and your mental health. Read OP's edit. The stepsister name-called, blasted her for starting her period, cut her hair with scissors, and bullied her badly until they were 10 and living in the same house. Dad wanted them to be a family and for her to put up with it. He was a crappy father who took away OP's safe space so he could mess around. The boss asked a question, and OP answered truthfully. She didn't give unnecessary details, as everything she disclosed was relevant to the question. Also, screw decorum. If someone mistreats you, you're under no obligation to hide their behavior so they can save face with people. I've actually been kinder to my enemies than estranged relatives because family's supposed to love you and not put you in harmful situations. Exactly. Stepsis cut OP's hair, which is well beyond normal bullying. I don't love that OP dragged Dad's professional life into it, but wow, what kind of father puts the actual safety of their child second? That's a very profound parenting failure. I find it assuming that the man who knowingly brought their daughter's bully into her family called her out on decorum. His getting reamed by his boss and the truth being spread around town are consequences of his actions. I, 28 male, went out for drinks with a coworker, 30 male, casually, and we talked. The last thing that came up and left us with tension was that he was looking to get a service dog for his PTSD. I didn't know he had that, and I'm not judging his need for it. I, however, am not dog friendly. I've never trusted one in my life. I was bit when I was 5, and I still don't like them. So if I go to someone's house, I'm relatively fine about it. Still, if I encounter one in a neutral place, I'll just remove myself from the situation and go out of my way to avoid them. Back to our conversation. I told him I'd probably quit if he got a service dog. I wouldn't stop him, but I'd look to move on from our job. He got angry at that. I explained my history with dogs. That apparently didn't help. We had a good friendship until this, but he was visibly angry. He said I'd be an idiot if I left because of his service dog. He thought management would give him a tough time, but not his best friend at work. So it was left with the tension between us. Avoiding them is not as impactful in my life till now. I eat indoors and rarely eat at patios. I don't go to dog-friendly places. Granted, people often bring them anyway. I usually host, so I don't have to see dogs. I've simply just chosen to not want dogs around. That doesn't need further therapy. So, am I the idiot for telling my coworker I'd quit if he got a service dog? Personally, I think it's pretty weird. Not that you have a phobia resulting from a traumatic childhood experience, but that you'd fail to do any work to process it and default to an irrational emotional response. I get that dogs are usually easy to avoid, so it's easier to ignore the problem than deal with it. However, just as any mental health issue isn't your fault, it still remains your responsibility. So yeah, you are the idiot. Take some ownership of your problem and do some work to minimize it. It's a service dog, man. Like, what? They're trained to be the best they can be. And heck, maybe it'll get you used to dogs again. I get not trusting dogs if you were bitten, but quitting an entire job over it, especially over a service dog for someone else's, especially someone who called you their work best friend, PTSD, whack. I disagree. OP's not the idiot. It's extremely inconvenient for people who have phobias to be around animals they fear. Just because it's a special type of animal doesn't mean the fear will go away. I have a cat phobia, and my friend has a very well-behaved cat that can stay in one place for hours. I still don't visit his house because of my irrational fear. A phobia is irrational. You can't just tell people to suck it up and get over it. OP didn't force management to ban service dogs. He offers to leave so his coworker can have the dog. I don't see any reason to call him an idiot. My friend moved in with me and my toddler a couple of months ago with her toddler and cat. She's mostly only here when she has her kid, but on the days the kid is with her dad, my friend is hardly ever here and is over at her boyfriend's house. She does come to ensure the litter's cleaned and the cats, because I have a cat too, are fed before she leaves, but she's never here. It was an entire month of her leaving the house right after getting home from work, spending some time with the cat, and then going straight to her boyfriend's. Most nights she doesn't even sleep here. She was starting to leave when I asked her if she was going to her boyfriend's. She said yes, then grabbed her keys. I stopped her and said we really needed to talk about her constantly at her boyfriend's. She said, "What is there to talk about?" I told her I didn't appreciate her going there almost every day if she was going to live here, and that there needed to be boundaries. My friend said that she's there every night that she has her kid and only leaves when she doesn't because that's the only time she can see him. She stated that she would invite him here, but she wants to be courteous to my son and me. So she just goes over there and ends up staying the night so that she isn't coming through the door very late when my son is sleeping. She asked if this was about her leaving the cat there some days and mentioned that this wasn't something I told her would be an issue when establishing house rules. I told her it wasn't about the cat. It was about her never or hardly being here for days at a time when she lived here. She said she wasn't just going to not see her boyfriend and didn't understand the issue, then walked away. This confused me, and now I'm wondering if I might be wrong. Am I the idiot? Edit. She's also said that she shouldn't have to adjust her social life just because she moved in. But I've told her, it's my house and I have rules and boundaries. She's moved into it, and I feel like she can move in with her boyfriend if this is really a problem. You are the idiot. I just read somewhere that boundaries are limits you set for yourself. Control is limits being set for others. There's no reason for you to have any control over where she spends her time. Why do you need her to be home? If you'd like to spend some time with her as your friend, then you should just tell her that instead of trying to control where she spends her time. Having a roommate who's hardly home seems like a dream situation to me, unless the reason for having one is for companionship. This is bizarre. You're being a little single white female about this. It's very weird. What do you want from her? A babysitter? Did you think she only moved in to be at your beck and call every day? She has her own life, and you already said that the cat wasn't the problem. She's not your teenage daughter. Why does it matter if she's away from the house? It doesn't sound like she'll be your friend for much longer. Girl, she's a grown darn woman with a kid, and she makes sure the cat is fed, watered, and the litter box is clean, and she pays rent. What the heck is your problem? She's grown. This is not a teenager. Boundaries? What boundaries? She's not bringing him there out of courtesy, but you're still light bulb. Oh, I get it. You miss her. Then dang woman, just say that then. I am currently pregnant and have been experiencing some really strange cravings lately. Before meeting my husband, I grew up non-vegetarian, but I switched to vegetarian after we got together. My husband and his entire family are strict vegetarians. Recently, my mother-in-law came to stay with us to help out when the baby's born. 2 days ago, she went out of her way to prepare a special meal for me, and I truly appreciated her effort and the thoughtfulness behind it. I ate everything she made and complimented her cooking. However, throughout the meal, I couldn't help but think about chicken wings. The craving was overwhelming, and after lunch, I ordered some chicken wings for myself and disposed of the waste in the kitchen bin, completely forgetting that my mother-in-law would see it when she used the bin. Later that evening, she found the wrappers and confronted me about it. She was visibly upset and felt hurt, believing that I didn't like her food and that I preferred ordering out. I tried to explain that it was just a pregnancy craving and not a reflection of her cooking, but she was deeply hurt and disappointed. Now my mother-in-law is being distant and is avoiding me, and my husband's being neutral. He did express he was upset that I ate chicken, as we're vegetarians, but he's not picking a side and tells me that he's staying out of it. I am on maternity leave, so I'm with my mother-in-law all day. My husband's on call most days, and when he is at home, he's mostly asleep. I'm not sure if I'm an idiot or what to do to fix the situation, and I genuinely have nothing against her cooking. I just had a craving, and I didn't think this would be still awkward 2 days on. I thought it would just blow over. Not the idiot, but I would order a burger next. I've been a vegetarian for over 8 years. Still, I started eating meat when I was pregnant because my body was craving it so badly. You gotta listen to your body and not your mother-in-law. You might be deficient in something that you're not getting without meat. If you still want to be a vegetarian after the baby, that's your prerogative. But while you're pregnant, all bets are off. It was sweet she made you a tasty meal, but that doesn't mean you still didn't want those wings. Also, your husband needs to support you better. Good Lord, your mother-in-law needs to stop making this about her. You ate dinner and were hungry after, so you ordered wings. That's it. Hubby doesn't get to stay out of it. It's his job to handle his family. He's just being lazy. This is a vulnerable time when he should be supporting you. Ultimately, your body is your choice. That's what bodily autonomy is for. You ate her food, and you ate some more food that you were craving. Pregnancy is hard. Do you? I don't think anyone's the idiot here. I think it's a misunderstanding because mother-in-law may not know it was a pregnancy craving and believes it was a cover for you not enjoying her food. Maybe just explain to her about it, and all will be okay. Do you actually believe what you wrote here? Because mother-in-law is an idiot. Just because OP was still hungry doesn't give her mother-in-law the go-ahead to take offense. How do people still buy into this BS that doing something for yourself that you want, which has no impact on others, is offensive? Also, was mother-in-law not pregnant at one point and aware of cravings? I'm a man and understand that. She needs to get over herself. Your mother-in-law is controlling, and her behavior gives me a strong matriarch vibe. You should stand your ground and give these people the lecture they so deserve. Don't let them walk all over you. Ask yourself, is having your mother-in-law there actually going to help or just annoy you and cause you emotional distress? If she isn't going to help, kick her out, now. My husband and I own our home, so our son has lived rent-free with us after finishing college. But I think it's harmed him lately. He is 27 and has never had a job. When I suggest getting a job, he says he's worried he'd be stressed out at work. He always has a reason and shoots down my suggestions to work, so he gets out of the house and does something productive. Every day after I get home from work, he complains about how he doesn't have a girlfriend, but refuses to try when his dad and I suggest getting a job, making friends through hobby groups, going outside more, and dating apps. He spends all his time complaining about how women don't like him, although he's never tried befriending or approaching a woman. He says if women were attracted to him, they'd approach him, and cites an example of one person he knows who doesn't work and who doesn't go outside and who has a girlfriend as proof that he shouldn't need to do those things. We are at our wits' end and are considering giving him an ultimatum to pay us rent so he'll get a job. Am I the idiot? Worried he'll just become homeless because he seems to rely on hating the idea of working, but I'm at the end of my rope. Not the idiot, but you've done him no favors but allowing him to be a bum for at least 5 years. Tell him he has 3 months to get a job or he's no longer allowed in your home. He then has 6 months after getting said job to get his own place. In the interim, tell him if he isn't willing to change anything, then he's not allowed to complain about it. Everyone's the idiot here. No offense, but there's no way your parenting hasn't directly affected or contributed the way he's acting now. Cut off the internet for use other than job hunting. If he needs new clothes or things, tell him to learn how to mend them or find a way to acquire them himself. Stop cooking for him or even feeding him any of the special things he likes. Don't pick up after him at all. Not one dish, not one sock. If he can't afford it, he can't have it. Tough love. Agreed. Also, his finding a girlfriend should be the least of his and OP's priorities. I'm also going to guess that he spends an excessive amount of time online, probably playing video games and watching adult stuff. His dating attitude is extremely concerning. He feels entitled to a girlfriend without putting in any effort. Wonder why? I bet his friend's girlfriend is imaginary. I can confirm. I had a 27-year-old unemployed neighbor who lived with his parents try to ask me, 22 female at that time, out. He joined me for my dog walks around the neighborhood, which made him believe I was head over heels in love with him. My walk schedule was like clockwork, 7:30 a.m., 3:30 p.m. I was a live-in nanny. Parents took over evening walks. When I kindly rejected him, he turned it around on me and said he wasn't ready for a relationship yet and that I was moving things too fast. The best part is, I had just met my now partner, so the dude was flabbergasted when I told him I was seeing someone and tried for months to convince me that what we had was real and he wished things would go back to how they used to be, even though the entire time I'd been talking with and getting to know my partner. It's been 5 years. My partner and I are happily living together and building our future together. And this neighbor dude is now 32, still unemployed, and still living with his parents. It's time for some tough love, OP. It's time for him to leave the nest.